Greetings, folks. Welcome into the Picky Fingers Banjo Podcast. Keith Billik here. And hey, I know it's been a while since the last episode. I have missed you all, but it sure feels good to be back with my banjo picking family. I sure do appreciate everyone's support. It is very important to keeping this show running. And so this is where I remind you that if you do enjoy this show and have a few bucks extra per month that you might be able to put toward showing your appreciation, head over to patreon.com/banjo podcast and become a VIP supporter of the show. This episode's VIP supporter is Mark Schultz. Mark's claim to fame is that he took lessons from Bill Keith back in the late 60s when he was attending college, and even organized a gig that Bill Keith played under the name The Bluegrass Dropouts, featuring Richard Green, Peter Rowan, and David Grisman, and that's pre-Mule Skinner, folks. So if you want to hear that concert, it was recorded and is on YouTube, so just search for The Bluegrass Dropouts, and we all have Mark Schultz to thank for that, and of course, also have Mark Schultz to thank for his generous support of the Picky Fingers Banjo Podcast. Thanks, Mark. So once again, patreon.com/banjo podcast to become a VIP supporter yourself. Or you can reach out to me at any time, pickyfingersbanjopodcast@gmail.com. Today's episode features a whole bunch of sound clips featuring ToneDexter. Now, most of you might remember way back to episode 152 where I interviewed James May and Josh Bennett, the design engineers behind ToneDexter. But there's only so much you can talk about something before you really start to wonder, well, how does it sound and what is this really doing? That's what this episode is. So I apologize in advance. This isn't exactly an easy listening episode. It's more of an analytical sound clip shootout presentation. But hopefully a lot of you can find it useful, especially if you are in a position of wondering about the ToneDexter, or you're in a live performance situation and you're taking a look at your options. So we're going to be hearing a lot of stuff here, including 5 different microphones, 3 different pickups, and lots of ToneDexter wavemaps. And at the end, I'll even give you my own little summary conclusions and let you know what I think. So here we go with some ToneDexter sound samples. It's time to put the ToneDexter and its wavemaps to the test. And if you are feeling a bit lost, what is this ToneDexter stuff? What on earth is a wavemap? This is where I refer you to go back to episode 152, which is an in-depth interview with James May and Josh Bennett, the design engineers behind ToneDexter. Very in-depth information, very informative, but I'll summarize in a nutshell. The ToneDexter is a tool for performing acoustic musicians that it aims to solve the dilemma between, on one hand, the desire for a natural acoustic tone, and that's typically best achieved with microphones, and then, on the other hand, the convenience and flexibility and consistency of using a built-in pickup. Now, this is a choice that I've had for years, and many acoustic musicians face all the time. So to do this, a ToneDexter user plugs both their pickup and an external microphone directly into the ToneDexter, and you go through a simple training process module. And during this training, the ToneDexter uses that microphone input to learn the acoustic characteristics of your banjo, and based on that, derives an algorithm to process the signal generated by the pickup to bring out those characteristics. Hopefully that makes sense. Long story short, it's making your pickup sound Ideally, more like your instrument's natural acoustic tone. Now, every time you train the ToneDexter, the profile for each instrument, microphone, pickup combo is saved in the ToneDexter as a wave map. So that's where that term comes from. And that then allows for the user to recreate and apply that tonal signature to your instrument without the need for using the microphone. The ToneDexter is doing all that work for you. So that obviously sounds great, but there's a lot of discussion about, well, first of all, how effective is ToneDexter at doing this? That's clearly the main thing. And then, because each wave map represents a distinct combination of sounds from your instrument, the pickup you choose, and the microphone you're using, there's questions about what pickup works the best, what microphone is the best to train this wave map to get the best results. Now, like I keep saying, James and Josh address these questions extensively, but sometimes the real proof is in the proverbial pudding. Well, that's what this episode is all about, a big giant bowl of banjo pudding. And by that, I mean tons of recorded sound clips using ToneDexter wave maps made from my banjo with different pickup and microphone combinations. Okay, and as with any good scientific study, I feel the need to describe the process I went through so you have a sense and a roadmap of what you're going to be hearing. So for all of the recordings you're hearing, to be as scientific as possible, I tuned the banjo before each take. What a concept. I'm really going the extra mile for you folks. And then I played the same 1 minute approximate musical segment just to try to keep things even. I didn't want your opinion of the sound clips to be swayed by whether I played a piece that you liked a little better. And so for that reason, you're going to be hearing the same 1 minute segment a lot. And I'm so sorry, but just that fair warning that this is meant to be more of an analytical episode, and it won't be very entertaining as just a casual listen. So after recording each of these sound clips, each clip is then adjusted for equal loudness, and no other processing has been applied. And actually, that brings me to a very important point and a crucial flag to plant here for the ToneDexter. For this reason, the fact that I did not do any extra processing, please keep in mind that, well, first of all, I'm not trying to persuade you for or against ToneDexter, but to be fair to the ToneDexter, keep in mind that when you hear these examples of the wave maps that I create by the ToneDexter, that's the worst they're going to sound. In real life, if I was going to use one of these wave maps and perform with it, I would take some time, tweak it even more using the ToneDexter's EQ, the spaciousness control, but to be as objective as possible, I left everything flat for these recordings, no extra processing. And I guess I should also mention that for each sound sample, I will add a shortcut link in the show notes to give you a little bit easier time navigating if you're trying to compare two samples back to back that maybe don't occur back to back within the episode. So check the show notes if you're really trying to do an A-B comparison between a few specific things. Okay, back to this 1 minute segment that you're going to hear over and over again. First, I recorded baseline, unadulterated microphone samples. In other words, not using the ToneDexter at all. Just so you can, like I said, get a baseline example for what these microphones even sound like. And for that, I chose 5 different types of popular and commonly available microphones. Then I recorded 3 pickups on their own, again, not using the ToneDexter, to get a baseline of the signal that the ToneDexter is seeing and that you would usually be experiencing if you were using one of these pickups without the ToneDexter. And for that, I am using 3 different pickup types, which I will go through in just a moment. But after that, I used every combination of pickup and microphone to program a wave map into the ToneDexter. Now, I know this isn't a math podcast, But by my calculation, the 3 pickups and 5 microphones means we're going to have a total of 15 different wave maps to listen to today. And as you may already be thinking, there are a few different ways we can come at this evaluation. Perhaps you own a ToneDexter, but you need to make a decision about what pickup or microphone do you want to get. Maybe you already have one of these pickups and want to check out the ToneDexter to see if that's a worthwhile upgrade for your rig. Or perhaps you're a die-hard microphone purist, but are considering getting into the plugged-in game and just want to, investigate the options. So I'll try to present everything in a way that suits each of these scenarios. So let's get started. Okay, first off, we're going to start with the microphones. I'm going to take you through each of the 5 different microphones, and for each of those 5, you're going to hear 4 samples, the sound of the pure baseline microphone, and then the 3 wave maps created by each of 3 different pickup types. Now, the pickups that I'm using for creating the wave maps are the K&K Banjo Twin. That's the kind with the 2 sensors that each stick to the head. The Schatten BJ-02, that's the one small metal plate that sticks to the head. And then finally the EMG ACB Barrel. That's a magnetic pickup, very similar to the Fishman, uses a small metal shim and then a magnetic sensor that clamps to the coordinator rods. I installed each of these according to the manufacturer's instructions, so trying to make everything as fair as possible. So let's dive into these microphones. And also please keep in mind as you're hearing these that it's only half of the equation comparing the wave maps to the baseline microphone samples. You're also going to want to keep listening further on in the episode to hear the wave maps as compared to the baseline pickup signals to see how much of an improvement those wave maps get you as compared to that starting point. First up, we have a Rode NT5. Now, ToneDexter recommends that they've had good luck using small diaphragm condenser microphones to train the wave maps. So the Rode NT5 is a very popular, modestly priced, standard type of small diaphragm condenser, very similar to other common ones such as the Shure SM81 or the Neumann KM184. So let's hear, first of all, just the baseline sample for the Rode NT5. As a reminder, this is not going through the ToneDexter. Okay, and now we have samples using the wave maps created with that microphone through the ToneDexter. First, we're going to hear the one created using the K&K pickup. So this is the K&K with the Rode NT5 wave map. And next up, we have the WaveMap created using the Rode NT5 with the Schatten pickup. And finally, the Rode NT5 WaveMap using the EMG ACB Barrel pickup. Okay, the next microphone used is a Behringer ECM8000. Now, this is a measurement microphone. And you heard during the interview, James said that a measurement mic, because it is designed to be as flat and realistic as possible, might give the best results of them all. And he even mentioned that there was a specific Behringer one that was only $60. Well, I checked at Sweetwater, and they're actually only $20. So I went ahead and bought this, and especially for those of you who might have a ToneDexter and don't own a microphone to use, $20 at Sweetwater, just saying. So anyway, let's hear the baseline sample of the Behringer ECM8000 on its own, not through ToneDexter. Okay, and now the WaveMap created with the ECM8000 using the K&K pickup. And now the wave map of the Behringer ECM8000 using the Schatten pickup. And the wave map using the Behringer ECM8000 with the EMG pickup. Okay, the next microphone we're going to use for the WaveMap training is the Shure SM57. As you're probably aware, no shootout is complete without including an SM57. Chances are, if you own just one microphone, this is it. And chances are, if you've ever performed on stage, you've played through one of these things. So let's give a listen to just the Shure SM57 without the ToneDexter. Okay, let's hear the Shure SM57 wave map with the K&K pickup. And now the wave map using the SM57 with the Schatten pickup. and the wave map of the SM57 with the EMG pickup. All right, let's move on to our next microphone. It is an Audio-Technica AT4047. Now, this is a large diaphragm condenser, so it's similar in type to the kinds that you see Del McCoury Band and all those types of bands who like to gather around the single microphone. This one also happened to be a model that was a favorite of J.D. Crow's to record with. So let's get a feel for what this sounds like, the baseline sample for the AT4047. Okay, and let's hear that wave map created with the AT4047 and the K&K pickup. And now the wave map of the AT4047 with the Schatten pickup. And now the wave map of the AT4047 with the EMG pickup. And for our final microphone, I'm using a Mesanovic Model 2 ribbon microphone. I really love ribbon microphones for recording. Now, James said that choosing a microphone for the ToneDexter isn't necessarily the same process as choosing one that we like for recording, but hey, I'm living dangerously here, and I wanted to just hear what would happen using the ribbon. So here we go, the baseline sound sample of the Mesanovic Model 2 ribbon. Okay, let's hear a wave map from the Mesanovic ribbon using the K&K pickup. And the Mesanovic Model 2 with the Schatten pickup, WaveMap. And then finally the wave map using the Mesanovic Model 2 and the EMG pickup. And now a word from our sponsors, but we will be right back with the episode in just a few moments. The Picky Fingers podcast is thrilled to be sponsored by Peghead Nation, the top site for instructional video courses in banjo, guitar, mandolin, fiddle, dobro, upright bass, and ukulele. You're going to learn bluegrass, old time, and other styles from some of the most talented players and instructors in all of roots music. Go to pegheadnation.com to see their great lineup of courses. Here are some of the choices just for banjo. Beginning Banjo and Bluegrass Banjo with Bill Evans, Clawhammer Banjo with Evie Layden, Wade Ward-style Banjo with Bruce Molsky, The Banjo According to Danny Barnes, and Contemporary Bluegrass Banjo with Wes Corbett. All of these courses include high-quality multi-angle video lessons, downloadable notation and tablature, play-along tracks, and plenty of tunes and songs to play. The best part is that just for being a Picky Fingers podcast listener, you are going to get your first month free. So head over to pegheadnation.com and use the promo code PickyFingers at checkout. That's pegheadnation.com and Picky Fingers, all one word, all lowercase, at checkout. The Picky Fingers podcast is also sponsored by Elderly Instruments. I have been so lucky to have Elderly Instruments as my local family-owned music store for as long as I can remember. But they are more than just that. They are the world's most trusted source for new, used, and vintage fretted instruments, which means they're the first place you should check for any of your banjo, mandolin, guitar, ukulele needs, instructional materials, and all the accessories to go with it. And the other part is that Elderly is just as well known for their excellent customer service as for their amazing selection of products. So head over to elderly.com to see their full inventory or give them a call to talk to one of their helpful and professional sales representatives. That's 517-372-7880. And last but not least, we have another family-owned business in Sullivan Banjos supporting the Picky Fingers Banjo podcast. A lot of you know that I have been playing my Sullivan Banjo for about 20 years now, and I'm here to tell you that it is sounding better than ever. Now, fortunately for you, Eric is still maintaining that high Sullivan quality, and he is ready, willing, and able to build you the banjo of your dreams, whether you just want a tried and true traditional design on up through your wildest custom dream banjo. Eric is here to build it for you. Head on over to sullivanbanjo.com, email sullivanbanjo@gmail.com, or just go the old-fashioned way. Call up Eric Sullivan at 502-365-5022. Get that legendary Sullivan tone with that added personal touch of being able to design your banjo with the person who's actually building it for you.
The Picky Fingers Banjo podcast is sponsored by Bluegrass Country Radio, America's oldest bluegrass, old-time, and Americana station. Shows are curated by real DJs, not computer algorithms. From classic bluegrass and traditional country to the best current artists, you'll find it all streaming at bluegrasscountry.org and on the station's free smartphone apps. That's bluegrasscountry.org.
Okay, now let's hear things from the pickup side of things. We started last time with the microphone baseline samples to see how the wavemaps could potentially recreate some of the instrument resonances that those microphones were picking up. Well, now we're going to start with the pickup baselines to see how much of an improvement those wavemaps create. So the first one up, we're going to have the baseline sample for the K&K Banjo Twins. So as a reminder, this first sample is not using the ToneDexter whatsoever. This is just the raw pickup sound. Okay, and now let's take a quick tour through the K&K wavemaps. Now, something very, very cool about the ToneDexter is that there is a record and playback function. And once you record a sound snippet, for example, a 1-minute banjo piece, you can switch wavemaps to compare that way. So I only had to record this sound sample once, but you'll hear it a few times through each of the different wavemaps. So let's start with the K&K going through the Rode NT5 wavemap. And now the K&K pickup through the ECM8000 wavemap. Next, you'll be hearing the wavemap taken from the K&K pickup with the Shure SM57. And now the wavemap of using the K&K pickup with the Audio-Technica AT4047. And finally, the wavemap trained using the K&K pickup with the Mesanovic Model 2 microphone. Okay, let's move on to the samples created with our second pickup, which is the Schatten BJ-02. Once again, here's the dry bassline sample of the Schatten without any ToneDexter help. Here's a wave map created with the Schatten pickup and the Rode NT5 microphone. Next, we have the Schatten and Behringer ECM8000 wave map. Next, the wave map using the Schatten pickup with the Shure SM57 microphone. Here we have the wave map of the Schatten pickup with the Audio Technica AT4047. And finally, the wavemap created with the Schatten pickup and the Mesanovic Model 2 ribbon microphone. Okay, and we're finally down to our last banjo pickup, which is the EMG ACB Barrel pickup. Here it is the dry, unadulterated bass line tone, not using ToneDexter. Okay, let's hear the wavemaps from the EMG pickup with the Rode NT5 microphone. And the next wave map up is the EMG pickup and the Behringer ECM8000 microphone. The next wave map was made with the EMG pickup and the Shure SM57. Next up, we have the WaveMap programmed using the EMG pickup with the Audio-Technica 4047 microphone. And finally, the WaveMap made from the EMG pickup with Mesanovic Model 2 ribbon. Okay, now that we are done with the sound samples, I'm sure you are all dying to know, what does Keith think? He is this big, famous banjo influencer. We respect his opinion. What are his thoughts about all this? Well, let me tell you. Thought number one, and my main conclusion, ToneDexter is really impressive. Now, do I think the wavemaps sounded 100% as good as the microphones? Not really, but consider two things. First of all, a reminder that those wavemaps in this episode is the worst they're going to sound. Any of us who are getting ready to use the ToneDexter for a live performance, we're going to get in there, we're going to tweak the tone to be even that much better. But again, for the sake of objectivity, I wanted to leave the samples in their raw, unadulterated state. Plus, there is definitely something to be said for hearing the ToneDexter through a PA. And I mean, it is a live performance tool after all. And I will say that some things that maybe bothered me a little bit when listening through headphones went completely unnoticed when I used it on stage and heard it in a real life situation. So keep all that in mind. Now, secondly, comparing the wavemaps to the microphones is really only half of the equation. The real game changer is comparing the wavemaps to the raw pickup sound. And that, I thought, was an astonishing improvement, even without the extra tone shaping and customization that I've just talked about. So there's that. Thought number two, I think the choice of banjo pickup matters far more than the choice of what microphone to train the ToneDexter with. I was actually pretty amazed at how similar the wavemaps sounded within a single pickup group, even across the different microphone options. And it was actually to the point where I even questioned whether I had made a mistake in the recording or labeled my sound samples wrong, because a lot of the different clips for each pickup sounded so similar. So it is worth investing in the pickup that you think is going to be a good starting point and going from there. So clearly I'm impressed with ToneDexter, but many of you have already emailed me to ask, have I made the switch? Many of you know that my setup for years now has been a blending setup using the Grace Design Felix preamp and a clip-on mic in conjunction with the pickup. So do I think that ToneDexter sounds as good as my previous setup? First of all, I realize I'm extremely lucky to be in a position to compare these setups. When I started performing about 20 years ago, I never could have imagined using equipment like this, and the state of the art has really come a long way. So let me just get that out of the way. And the answer to whether I have made the switch, am I convinced that ToneDexter beats the Grace Design Felix? That's a bit nuanced. And I guess in a nutshell, I think the Grace Design setup under ideal acoustic conditions is capable of better results than the ToneDexter. I love the Grace Design products and I have nothing bad to say about them. However, what percentage of time do we get to play under ideal acoustic conditions? And that really is where things start to even out for the ToneDexter. And there are several other factors going in ToneDexter's favor, at least compared to my previous setup. So first of all, ToneDexter isn't cheap, but it is substantially less than the Grace Felix, which is a top-of-the-line device worth every dollar, but let's face it, it's expensive. And not to mention the cost of having that extra microphone that you used for the blender system. It also saves setting up the mic and running an extra cable, which isn't a huge deal, but it is simpler to deal with and is kind of nice to just bust out a cable and plug it in and be done with it. And I guess I should also mention that if you really want to, you can use a mic with the ToneDexter as well. I haven't experimented with that, mostly because in a way it defeats the purpose for me. Part of using the ToneDexter is that simplicity, so I'm not going to take a step back in that department. So the answer that I've spent a long time getting to, for the time being, I have switched to using the ToneDexter. I'm still evaluating the best ways to use it, but I think the best compliment that I can give is that so far I'm able to perform freely and completely forget about the fact that I'm using a WaveMap rather than my old trusty blending system. Plus, the fact that I'm no longer using a microphone does make things simpler when I add in some effect pedals, which, I'm known to do. And so then the question is, what is my pickup and wavemap of choice? All of this is very subject to change, but I'm a big fan of the EMG ACB Barrel pickup, and I am currently using the wavemap made with that along with the measurement mic, the Behringer ECM8000. Although, huge caveat, like I said, I'm still in the evaluation stage, and I could switch all that up at any time. So there you have it. We have successfully completed part 2 of the ToneDexter Master Class. Thank you so much for everyone tuning in, and especially to this episode's VIP supporter of the episode. That's Mark Schultz. Head on over to patreon.com/banjopodcast to become a VIP supporter yourself, or contact the show, pickyfingersbanjopodcast@gmail.com. That's going to do it for this episode. We'll get back to plenty of more interviews coming soon.